This week on the Park It On podcast, of course, we get into the match reports. Now it's the last 2 weeks. We have a rules question from a listener. There's a double update on the pay to win index. And of course, we finish off with a little bit of Shuey's wisdom. It's time to Park It On. Welcome back on into the Park It On podcast, the only lawn bowls podcast that strives to run a yard through the head of bad vibes, trailing it to the good vibes for sure. My name is Riley, certainly a Div 5 bowler, and joining me live this week, thanks to the bloody fringe going on, it's a little later on than usual, is the swaggy, the man with pants baggy, his energy never draggies. It's Mr. Jimmy.
Hello. Yeah, I had a fringe show on tonight that I thought I'd be home by 9, but it is now currently 10:30. It was a really good show. It was a comedy wine tasting, so I've had about 4 glasses of wine and am ready to talk about some lawn bowls.
This is the appropriate level to be talking about lawn bowls. That's the whole point of the pay to win index.
Exactly. I'm halfway to the pay to the win, but pay to win index, not pay to the win index. It was good wine.
How good, man. I've been up the river a week dealing with year 7 boys. Do you know how fun dealing with year 7 boys is?
Oh god, I'd rather shit in my hands and clap, to be honest.
Almost half as fun as dealing with the year 7 girls who are also there. Holy shit. It was like herding cats, mate. Far out. But alas, we have some lawn bowls gear to get upon, Mr. Jimster. On Saturday, I played some pennant bowls in Div 5 against Club Holdfast at Club Holdfast, Jimster. Now, Club Holdfast, they've had a bit of a rough go of it this season. Unfortunately, they are the bottom side in the Div. But honestly, looking at the quality of side that we played on Saturday, they do not deserve to be there in the slightest. They were playing some really solid bowls, having a good time of it, and just cranking some shots in. You know, I was really pleasantly surprised when we rocked up and they were really giving it their all, and they wanted to win so bad. You know, I feel like it may be a case of, you know, just a season where things sort of haven't come together properly, and it's just not really worked out for them throughout the year, and now they find themselves in the last couple of weeks. It's a bit of a dead rubber now. There's no real chance that we can go into the finals. There's no real chance that they can escape relegation, unfortunately. And so they were just they were going out, having a go, and they were having fun with it too. You know, our sides are pretty evenly matched. We may have copped the ace rink again, Jimster. We've done that a couple times now. Yeah, this is the thing, right? My selection luck is unreal. I cop the bloody ace rink constantly, and then when we played that Sunday Pairs Day, we copped 2 fucking Prem sides.
Yeah, it was pretty unreal. Unreal luck.
I just attract him, mate. Oh, well. Yeah, it was a pretty even match, though. These guys were playing really well. We didn't deserve to lead quite as much as we did. We did have a couple of funny shots, shall we say. A little bit of rear end upon some of those shots, shall we say. You know, at one point, their skip had a run at the bowls, and the head was such that if he got the jack in its entirety and played it through, it was coming to us for literally 5 or 6 shots. Like, we were holding 1 or 2, and the others were just behind the head in this nice little clump. But he got the top corner of it, sliced it out sideways, and then picked up a 3 from that. I was just like, what the fuck is this? That's just the arsiest thing I've seen all day. And it was until about the 16th end or so when our skip put down a heavy one to try and bust up a 4, and he put it down way too narrow. It copped an outside bowl, ricocheted into the head, and played through for a 5 for us.
Unbelievable.
The green itself was running in a really interesting realm. It wasn't super slow and it wasn't super fast. It was that weird middle, which you'd think would be like a Goldilocks, but it really wasn't. It was too slow to play loopy draws because the bowls wouldn't come in enough, but it was too quick to play skinny stuff, knowing that it would only come in a little bit. And that was compounded by the fact that we had this really strong crosswind going that just made it rather difficult to bowl well. I was literally bowling. You've seen how loopy my bowls can be. Yeah. I was bowling along the center line of the rink to get into the head. It was fucking unreal. Now, I could blame the green. I really could. It was a fucking hard green to play on.
Which you did. You sent me a message saying, fuck, this green is shit.
Yes, I did. I feel my emotions in the moment, all right? I could blame the green, but I'm not going to, because you know what, Jimster? I played like fucking shit. I was abysmal. Just terrible in that first half. In an Icarus-like fashion, I crashed down to earth and played some horrendous bowls. I'm talking too short, too long, too skinny, and too wide in the space of 2 ends. Like, it was just ridiculous how far off the mark I was for that first half of bowling. And it doesn't mean that I was bowling complete dog shit the entire time, but I was bowling really poorly, especially for my personal level of... Well, I spoke about this last week, right? When I play, I have to believe that I am good enough to beat who I'm playing against. And so when I am presented with results that are not congruent to that, aka I'm bowling shit, it's really quite the ego gut punch to me. I had a better word for it in the back of my head and I completely lost it partway through the sentence. It's an ego blow. There you go. It's a real ego blow to me to not really live up to what I believe and know that I am capable of, right? I went into that break and I had a moment to myself and I went, look, when it comes to individual sports, and bowls, for as much of a team sport as it is an individual sport. Like, you are doing your bowls yourself against your opponent, and then the later in the order you are, the more opponents you have, but you still only have the 2 bowls. In an individual sport, when everything is going wrong and you just can't take a break, you just have to focus on what you can do. And so I came out in that second half and I went, look, my bowls are skinny as shit today, so I'm just going to bowl it along the fucking line, see what happens. Got a toucher. And then from that, I bowled pretty okay. The old fella turned up about 3/4 of the way through the game, and then suddenly I start playing well.
On your Graham.
On your Graham. Could have turned up a little earlier. Too busy selling off his bloody camper trailer. Well, yeah, he turned up. I think it was a good bit of morale boost as well, you know. Sometimes when you're having a bit of a shit day out, that little bit of, you know, someone you love rocking up, it's good for you. This has me reflecting, Jimster, on my game and its weaknesses, because it's another slow start, right? There's a common theme in a lot of my match reports where I'm saying, you know, the early ends we were struggling, the first game of state singles I had a bad game, I'm not really succeeding in these early goes of it, and I really identify that, you know, win, lose and draw, I am playing shit early on. How am I gonna address this and get better? Probably more practice, probably better practice, probably practicing at different times of day. You know, often my practice is Thursday after work before Night Owl starts. I'll have a few roll-ups and maybe play a singles match with whoever's there. For me, maybe it means I have to rock up early in the morning on a day I have off and bowl then, and bowl on a slower green at Grange to try and, you know, really dial in how quickly I can adapt, rather, have a broader understanding of my shots, right? And that's something that winter bowls will be good for. It's something that going back into properly training and practicing will be good for. But it's something that's come up to me because I've been around performance endeavors my entire life, right? Like, a little known fact about me, not like I fucking talk about it all the time. I played state water polo from the time I was about 12-ish to the time I was about 18. And in a state system like that, everything is analysis. You're constantly going, how did I do this? Did I do this well? Did I do that poorly? Whatever. And something I notice, especially in bowls, because it is a less serious endeavor, unless you're in like Prems or BPL or whatever, you can really easily fall into this trap of results-based analysis. So, you know, did I win? Must have played great. Did I lose? Must have played shit. It's super easy to take yourself on these weird little garden paths and do the wrong thing. Like, you know, if you have a win because you played a lucky shot and it wicked off and you happen to roll it in for a 6 and win the match, that's awesome. But why the fuck were you in the position to have to play a shot that had to get lucky to get there, right? It's something that I think a lot of bowlers can fall into, especially if they don't come from a background like I do. Fuck, this sounds so wanky, so self-aggrandizing. But, you know, I'm fortunate enough to have this experience, and so I'm going to fucking share it. Why not? If you haven't had that for whatever reason, and you don't know to take that sort of frame of mind into your analysis of what's going on, it can be really confronting to go, oh, but we won. Why does that mean I played shit? And it's like, well, you got lucky, or they played badly, or whatever it is, right? And so I'm really, this is a long-winded way of me saying thank you to you, Jim, because like we've been fucking around for a little while going, oh, it'd be funny if we did a podcast of lawn bowls. But this has genuinely been such a boon to my game to be able to look at it objectively and go, this is what I did well, this is what I did poorly, this is what the opponents did well, this is what the opponents did poorly, these were the conditions, how did it go? It's been really good to have like this structured feedback that we do every week. It's fucking really sick, man. So, thank you for doing this with me.
It's like almost... It's not to the level of watching video analysis, like, footy-wise, but it's like the idea of just keeping a tab on what's happening just so that we can talk about it later. It keeps it in the front of your mind. I was just trying to look it up then, but I saw a bowler when I was watching some bowls a month ago. I could have sworn it was the Oz Open, but I could be wrong. Could have been something else, but the bowler in question, it might have been a replay of one of the Adelaide singles games. It might have been that game that Nathan Black was in, now that I'm thinking of it.
Oh, I know exactly what you're talking about. Yeah.
So the fella that he was playing, after every bowl, he has a notepad and he writes down how every bowl went.
Yeah, so that fella is a statistician for the Essendon Football Club.
Yeah.
And... honestly, let's try and get him on the pod. I want to know his process because
Dave Ryan,
that's it. Yeah. But yeah, Dave, if you're listening rather, fuck. Why do I think we're a fucking video series today, man?
Soon.
Like, what the fuck am I doing? Yeah, soon. We'll have a set and everything for season 1. This is like season 0.5 right now. Season 1, when we're both playing pennants, we'll have a fucking set.
Seems like he is from Strathmore Bowls Club.
Yeah, like he's a statistician for Essendon, or at least he was at the time of the recording, because I've seen the same one. I would really be keen to discuss what that process is. That'd be really fucking cool to unpack. Might be an off-season little thing we do.
That would make sense, because Strathmore Bowls Club is down the road from the hangar. Like, genuinely just down from DFO Essendon.
Now that is fucking excellent. All right, Jimster. We did get some good luck on this pennants afternoon. Bit of arse in there. Our opponents didn't deserve to lose by 7. They deserved to lose by like 1 or 2. But, we still got the job done. 20-13. Up, club hold fast. Good on you. Really like playing against you. Maybe we'll cross paths again, hopefully. But, unfortunately this season's not really gone their way, and that's okay. So we move on, and... Jimster, next week is the last week of pennants.
Yeah, and it's the last week of Night Owls as well.
Last week of Night Owls this week as well. I don't know if we're playing finals or not. Like,
we are.
I meant we are.
So I think the way that they're structuring it is 1 plays 2, 3 plays 4, and then I think it might just be like a double game, like you play 14 ends instead of 7. I'm not sure.
Are they playing it this week?
No, they're playing it next week. So this week's the last regulation round, which I unfortunately will not be able to go to.
Bloody fringe.
Yeah, it's just that time of year. We should have a fringe show next year.
Honestly, Park It On Podcast Live would go hard.
The thing is, obviously we wouldn't do match reports, but I think sitting down and, finding a really interesting, story of bowls, like a real life Crackerjack type deal, and we go through it all and we explain it all. I think that'd be really interesting.
Fuck yeah. Like Batuta once did this series, I think it was for Paramount, where they just told ripper Aussie yarns.
Yeah,
we could 100% do that. Fuck yeah, dude. I fuck with this heavy. Let's do that.
Yeah, we should look into it this year.
Yeah, well, I was fully about to be like, we'll do Park It On Podcast Live, and we'll do, pyrotechnics and shit, and I'll walk out with the Book of Shuey, proselytizing. Everyone can, go, ooh, ah.
But, that's the thing. I think you could rope some... you'd obviously rope all the old people that play lawn bowls into buying tickets, but then I reckon if you have it at a decent enough venue... you could 100% get, some, young people being, old Aussie yarns count me in.
I think I have the story, Jimster.
Oh, yeah?
I actually think I know it. I'll talk to you a bit about this off air. But stay tuned for the Fringe season 2026. We'll have some ripper yarns. Fuck yeah. All right, Jimster. This week is the final week of Night Owls for us and the final week of Pennant Bowls. Do you know who I'm rounding out the beautiful pennant season against?
Who are you rounding it out against?
It's my favourite club in the entire league, Jimster. Nova Gardens. So we're playing Nova Gardens at home on our greens. Now, Jimster, I've held this story in reserve because, let's be honest, it is a bit embarrassing. It is something that I am not super proud of, but it needs to be said because it may come into play next week's pod, especially with the updated, instantaneous penalties gear going on. That sounds really aggressive.
Oh yeah, we need to talk about that.
Yeah. We can theory craft on that a little bit a little later in the show. Yeah. But last time we played against Nova Gardens, it was at their place, and we were leading. They didn't score for like 12 ends. We were ahead the entire fucking game. And then in that second half of the game, we fell away a little bit. The surface changed a little bit. It becomes a fucking wind tunnel there. I don't like it. Point being, I don't like it. Anyway, it gets to the 18th or something end, and we drop a 2, and we're now down. Like, we've been up all day, we're down. And bowls is a very accessible sport. There are lots of beautiful people who play, who come from all walks of life, all kinds of social backgrounds, all kinds of level of sporting understanding, shall we say. Unfortunately, the lead that we were playing against, who I'm sure is a lovely person, unfortunately said rather loudly to their second, "Oh, we're leading now." Just so fucking loud. And like, as we've discussed, Jimster, I believe I should play well whenever I play, and when I don't play well, it upsets me. And so I'm already upset because I'm playing poorly in the second half, and, then you cop shit like that, and I'm never gonna actively do something, right? Like, that's fucking stupid. It's a game of bowls. Like, relax. But I was unhappy, and the further the game went on, I'm getting more and more upset, and we end up losing by a couple shots in the end. And I'm fucked off. I just want to go home. So I launch my bowls down our rink hard as I can. Now, when you launch a bowl hard, as our faithful lawn bowlers will know, it's not going to turn very much. I've launched it in the middle of the rink as hard as possible. It's turned maybe 2 degrees. I do the second one, and I just fucking storm off. I've shaken everyone's hands. I've said good game, whatever. Storm off, grab my bowls, go put them in my bag, and their lead comes up to me and goes, "You need to learn the rules." Now, regardless of context, tapping someone on the shoulder and saying you need to learn the rules, typically not the greatest of ideas. There aren't many contexts where you can do that and it be okay, right? Like, it would be potentially if we're fucking around in the bar, drinking, carrying on, and I like give you a little slap and be like, haha, you need to learn the rules, Jimster. That's like the only context in which that set of actions and words are ever going to be like construed as anything other than fucking condescending, right?
It's one of those things where, like, it's you can say it, but only around friends, It's like calling someone an idiot.
Yeah.
Like, calling a friend an idiot is different to calling someone that you've played in sport an idiot is different.
Yeah. Now, I'm already fucked off. I am not a small human being. I am not a particularly feeble human being. If I were the build of this person who had said such things, perhaps I would have maybe read the room a little bit and gone, he's a bit upset and he could probably snap me in half. Maybe I won't go and like talk to him some more, right? Now, to be clear, it is bad etiquette to launch your bowls down a finished head. I have not found a single rule that says it is an illegal thing to do. Nor do I fucking reckon you could do anything about it. Like, if it's not impacting the other heads and it's not like, hitting anyone, the fuck are you gonna do? The game's over. Like, the result is the result. Regardless, I'm upset. I'm putting my bowls away. And she taps me on the shoulder and goes, "You need to learn the rules." I go, "Thanks, insert name here." Like, not aggressively, but directly. Like, thank you. Thank you for telling me that. I'm going to go now. Good on ya. Just like actively trying to remove myself from a situation and leave. Because that's all I want to do. I just want to get out of that shithole of a club and just fucking leave. And she just keeps pushing the point. Like she clearly did not understand in any way a level of social awareness, shall we say, to be able to go, this interaction does not need to continue. And she just kept fucking going on about it. And like when you hear a voice getting raised on a green, especially to someone who is smaller than, if the recipient is smaller than the person who is delivering it, which, you know, I'm raising my voice being like, hey, thank you, much appreciated, like I'm going to leave. And another person from a different rink like comes over and starts putting his 2 cents in. I'm like, thanks, buddy. Thanks for that. Much appreciated. And I just fucking left. I spent the next week going, fuck, they're going to put in a written report. They're going to spend $50 and just report me and fucking I'll get banned or something. I was just like, I was so fucked off. I was just ready to leave and I just stormed out and left. And, you know, I've been dreading playing against Nova again for that reason. I don't know how this Saturday's going to go, Jimster, because if I pull that fucking same lead again, if they remember who I am, because I certainly remember who they are, if they remember who I am expecting a very frosty reception, and it's going to be interesting to say the least.
I might see about coming along on Saturday. I don't think I've got anything on, so we'll see. I'll wear my termite shirt just for good luck.
Good gear. Yeah, we'll chuck a membership form in front of you while you're there, eh?
Might as well.
Yeah, may as well. But yeah, like, you know, to be clear, it's just a game. I'm never going to do anything, like, fucking stupid. Like, the most I'm going to do is talk slightly louder. You know, people don't believe me when I say that I am soft-spoken by choice. And then at work, when I actually raise my voice and yell, they figure it out, right? So, you know, I am soft-spoken. It is a very deliberate thing that I do because I don't like being super loud and, like, brash. The most I'm going to do is increase my volume. That's it. Like, I'm never going to fucking hit someone. Like, it's fucking stupid. It's a game of bowls. Like, come on. But I understand being a physically larger, physically stronger individual that someone may feel intimidated by me raising my voice, right? So I'm very, like, intent on not doing it as much as possible.
Yeah.
You know, the old fella listens to this, right? He's going to fucking tap me on the shoulder when he listens to this and be like, see, that's the thing. You just got to hold on to it till you're in the car. The amount of, like, sledges he copped when he was driving me home from my sports matches as a kid. Like, that guy was cheating and that umpire was a dickhead. And just fucking... Look, I feel my emotions very strongly. And I'm a lot better than I used to be. Like, when I was a kid, I would not be able to handle them super well and they'd all come sort of blowing out. But now I can pretty much contain it until I'm in the car at least. And then I can just drive home, blast music and fucking scream. But yes, I'm dreading it. I really hope I don't cop the same fucking lead because as nice as the lady as I'm sure she has no fucking social awareness. And if I have to deal with that for another like 3-4 hours on a Saturday, I'm going to fucking top myself, man. I just can't fucking deal with it.
All right. Well, I think that leads perfectly. I think we should probably talk about it now, which is what you were talking about the instantaneous penalties policy. A couple weeks ago, I finally went and I liked the Metropolitan Bowls Association Facebook just for what's going on, because I know finals are coming up, etc., all of that stuff. And then they posted this yesterday at 11 o'clock in the morning. Said, Bowls Australia has updated the instantaneous penalties policy. Please find it at our website. I'm not going to read all of this verbatim. I think the big ones that I'm going to read is that Section 2, which is the instantaneous penalties, these are like the actual rules that are being put in now. So 2.1 is if an umpire by observation or on appeal by the controlling body, a coach/manager, a skip, or an opponent, decides that a breach of any law or rule has taken place or any action by a player where there is no penalty specified in that law or rule, such as acting in an abusive, threatening, or intimidating manner, acting obscene, offensive, abusive, threatening, or intimidating language, threatening any person with physical violence or assault, assaulting any person, deliberate cheating, smoking or drinking on the green or in unauthorized areas, or abuse to any official. And then it has basically all of the repercussions for that. So, should an instantaneous penalty be applied, no replacement or substitute player will be allowed. in a team, the defaulting team will forfeit the game, yada yada yada. A bunch of like, this is really bad. Now, when I first read this and I sent it to Riley, my first thought was the Homer Simpson, like, hey, look, now they've got a sign for me. So it makes me think that something has happened somewhere in Australia. I'm not sure whether what was actually in it prior to this amendment, but I think one of these things has happened and it is now added. Either that or someone thought... I'm thinking maybe the actual penalties weren't a thing. Like, all of the stuff that was happening was already in there. You know, the acting in an abusive manner, assaulting a person, all of the penalties, etc., etc. But then, like, the repercussions have been amended to be instantaneous rather than the idea of putting a complaint in and getting it sorted a week or 2 weeks later. I'm not sure. But yeah, just thought it was interesting information that some people who are following the podcast might find interesting.
Yeah. When it comes to these sorts of things, like the conditions of play for whatever league you're playing in will have things like that. So they'll be like, don't be aggressive or don't cheat, whatever. What this document reads to me as is either, like you said, something has happened. They've gone, oh, fuck, we're not actually covered for this. Like, we're going to do this. Understand that it's not exactly part of the rules. We're going to change the rules to exactly be like, you never do this again. Or over time, these have been the most prominent ways that people have been reprimanded and the way that it's mostly been undertaken. And in the interest of everything being as open and transparent as possible, now this document exists.
Yeah.
And it could genuinely be either. It would be really interesting to get an email from an anonymous source being like, yeah, so I heard that Davo from like Hardwick Bay actually punched on with an umpire. And now I have no idea if there is a Davo at Hardwick Bay Bowls Club or if Hardwick Bay Bowls Club exists. So
the only other sort of thing I've got before the second match report, unless we want to talk about it later, was that Port Adelaide thing that I sent you.
Oh, how Port's getting redeveloped. Yeah.
Yeah. So for context here, so Riley's a member of the Crows. I'm a member of the Port Power. For those who don't know the area very well, Alberton, where Port Adelaide is based, there is a bowls club there, currently home to the Port Adelaide Bowling Club. Beautiful bowling club. I usually go there to watch the AFLW because there's cheap beers, obviously, and a really good view of the oval. So Alberton is getting a lot of spending money from the government to upgrade their facilities for the AFLW and for the Sandfall asterisk team at the moment. And so I got a letter from the I got the email that's like the letter from the CEO, and it has sort of a bunch of stuff, faff mostly. But the one thing that I did notice here, I will quote this one verbatim: beyond this, a heritage-inspired grandstand is planned for the current bowling club site. This will include new facilities for the Port Adelaide Bowling Club, additional player facilities, and a future-focused STEM learning and education facility with the council planning process to commence in 2026. So what that sounds like is they're going to demolish the current bowls club and move them in favor of a grandstand, which, understandable. That place needs a lot more seating. I think they're also putting seating in where the temporary grandstands were for the AFLW. But yeah, cool. Really good. I'm happy for Port Adelaide Bowling Club. It's the same with Grange and Torrensville and all these bowling clubs that are getting the money to do cool shit and actually redevelop their clubs. I think there's a lot of clubs that are in dire need of it. From being in Port Adelaide, I think they can definitely benefit from it. But like that, there was that club we were talking about the other day where you looked up their club and you were like, oh shit, this is like a complex. But I can't remember what it was. It was the one in Melbourne. It was...
yeah, it's Deer Park or whatever
Deer Park. Like, it would be nice to have a lot more of those in SA for the NBA and for, bigger tournaments, because we don't want all of the tournaments just being at the Adelaide Bowling Club.
Yeah, so basically the Grange redevelopment's going to try and look a bit like how Deer Park in Ballarat Road, Victoria is supposed to look like. A few outdoor greens, a fully enclosed indoor green, kind of like how Moama is, kind of like how
There's a lot
Tweed
of them.
heads.
There's a lot of them over in New South Wales. New South Wales club, like I say, club culture, but like ex-services clubs, and bowling club culture is a lot more ritzy than you have over in SA.
Yes. Yeah, it's a bit of a sea change for the South Australian lawn bowls sort of zeitgeist, but I think it is an ultimately positive one, even though there will be a lot of growing pains in the interim.
I do think it's good in the end.
Yeah, like similarly with the Alberton Bowls Club, they are going to lose. Like they have a green, they have 2 greens. I forget.
2 greens, yes.
Yeah, like they'll lose their greens and get moved around. And my only concern is when outside bowls people get involved, you get situations like Playford Bowls Club. Now, Playford Bowls Club are on council land, operated by the council essentially. And when they got built, some fucking pencil pusher in the Playford Council office was like, yeah, let's put the cheapest turf we can down and they'll bowl on that. Forgetting that this cheap turf was designed for the middle of winter in England. And so when it got hot in the summertime, when bowls is actually played in fucking Playford, aka one of the hottest fucking parts of metropolitan Adelaide, it turned into fucking glue and it was impossible to bowl on. And then it had to get fucking resurfaced and it's still slow as shit. But, when you get outside bowls people coming in and fucking making decisions for bowls clubs, there have been horror stories. And I would certainly hope that the Alberton move does not include a poor synthetic choice. Like if you do the same sort of surface that Woodville have and you take care of it, unlike a certain other bowls club, then you'll end up with, a decent surface to play on. You won't have to pay greenkeeper fees or whatever, but, nothing beats a grass green in my personal opinion.
All right. Well, I'll transition that over now to the Night Owls. So, Riley wasn't there last week. He was up in the Riverland, and so it was down to me. The original notes I took for this, I actually didn't say whether we won or lost, and everyone thought we'd won, but we actually lost both. Very closely. Very closely. So, first game, Terry Termites versus the Hot Shots. This was an unreal game. So both of these were unreal games. Both of these, we were tied going into the last end, which is slowly becoming a curse for us. One of our bowlers, I actually think it's a mental thing for him, where he goes, oh, we're tied, we're going to lose, and I don't like it, but I can't stop it. So yes, Terry Termites versus Hot Shots, tied going into the last end on ends and points, which I thought was quite interesting as well. But we ended up losing by 2, with a scoreline of 6-8. Didn't really have a lot to talk about on this one. We originally had our team sheet going, but I believe something happened there, and I ended up, because I was originally only playing the second game. I actually think I sort of butted in on this one. I originally thought one of the other players was in the first game, but I ended up playing the first game. And yeah, unfortunate end to go in on a 2 loss.
Yeah, so for context, we have now grown the Terry Termites to the point that we could have 2 teams if everyone was available every single week. And so we sort of we've had to implement a player rotation policy to make sure that everyone gets a game at least. But because we haven't formalized it until very late in the piece, last week was the first real go of it. And of course I wasn't fucking here. And so there was a little bit of growing pains, and moving forward into next season where we will hopefully be able to enter 2 teams because we'll try and pick up a couple extra people. So the Terry Termites and the Terry Two-Mites will fucking get it going.
Yes. So going into the second game, Terry Termites versus the Chapel Bros. Again, tied going into the end, but this was unbelievable. So I led this game, and I was just parking them on a little bit. I had a couple touches. I said 1, but I think there was a couple of close ones and stuff like that. But the big highlight of this game was there was a point where we had the head was quite short. I think Ethan told me to do a short one, so I did a short one. He said to Oki, he goes, because Oki was in his own brain where he was like, I can't listen to a lot of, because he can't control it as well as he believes he can. he can't listen to a lot of intricate strategy. You know, like if you bring it in here, this is why we're doing it. He's like, I just want to bowl. Like, just tell me where to bowl and I'll bowl. And so Ethan says to him, it's like, if you don't want to like try and get anything close, put something at the back. And so he does, and he gets it quite close. And then we do the crossover, and I'm like, what are you doing? And he goes, I think we go in for something weighted here. And I was like, I can't fault that. I think that is actually quite a good idea. And I said to him, if you miss the first one, just try and draw the next one. Because there was one earlier where we did it the other way round, where he was like, okay, I'll just try and draw one in, and he almost parked it on. He just got it probably a meter past it. I was like, second one, just bring it in, just do the same thing. But this one, he was like, no, I'm going to do it. And I was like, yep, I think it's a good idea here. So he puts this like weighted drive in. Like, I wouldn't call it a drive because it wasn't as straight like what you were saying earlier when you just sort of chucked them up at Nova.
Yeah.
It was like, it had a bit of turn to it, but I wouldn't say it was like a weighted draw or anything. But he knocks the kitty out, and the Night Owls rules are a bit fragile when it comes to the ditch. Half the teams say that it's a respot, and then half the teams reckon you play it in the ditch. These guys were a play it in the ditch team, which I was like, that's okay. But it was on the edge. And I was talking to these, like, they were like, I was like, I think it might be half in, so I think it might be all good. And they were like, nope, that's 100% out. And then they had this wild idea that we, like, spotted it back where in the vicinity that it already was, because they were, like, 2 or 3 up. And I think that was what was in their mind, was we can stay 2 to 3 up. I'm like, no, we can't do that. We have to respot it at the tee. And Ethan's drive was in the ditch. So, and they ended up calling one of the old blokes from I think it was one of the unbiased guys who's with the dude who does all the scoring and stuff. And he goes, is this what the rule is? And he goes, yeah, respot on the tee. So he put it down, and we're up 2. I think we went down from 3 up to 2. They ended up cutting us down to 1, but it was just like an unbelievable end where like it hit and we all just sort of went mental. I think the same game, a similar thing happened where it was the kitty was in the ditch, but Ethan, like, again, rolled a perfect one where it was probably like less than 30 centimeters from the ditch, which put us on for 1. And that was the one where we all popped off and we were like going insane about. But yeah, second game, definitely unreal. Unfortunately, they just got one in on the end. Both of these games came down to literally the last bowl. They ended up getting one on just at the end, and we lost 4-5.
Yeah, far out. Yeah, that's an interesting one. Oh, we have to respot it where it was. Eat my left foot,
yeah,
dude.
I think it's just they didn't know the
Absolutely
rules. Like, they're all, like, these boys are obviously not like bowlers. Like, this is like they've come here to have some beers and to hang out on a Thursday and play some lawn bowls.
Yeah, which is completely valid. But yeah, no. On no planet is that ever going to be a rule in any lawn bowls competition ever.
You'd have to mark where the bowl was, where the kitty was, to do that.
It's completely unenforceable without like video coverage.
Exactly.
Like, common sense it, boys. Common sense it. Anyway, good on you. We love that. But yeah, just a fucking weird one. But that's the thing, right? We've said a few times the rules at Night Owls need to be clearly stated for all teams at the start. Like, you know, when you give the cards out, maybe have a little like bit on the back that says, "Hey, these are the rules for the Night Owls this week." Like on your fucking template that they have when they do the scorecards, you could do the inverse of that, and on the back it'll print like, if it goes in the ditch, you play it in the ditch. If it goes out of bounds, respot it on the tee. Like, that's just little bits that would be good to just point to and be like, nope, this is the rule.
Yeah, and it'd almost be like a golf scorecard where it's like local rules almost.
Yeah, fuck, we should pitch that to Guy. He would froth that.
Yeah, I reckon it'd just cut down a lot, because we were the last ones out, and apparently the Chapel Bros were like, yeah, we usually are, and I was like, oh, well, that's not a good thing, but sure, but
Oh well, it happens. Anyway, this week I got to post the teams in the team channel shortly. which I'll do after the pod recording.
I'll be watching Broden Kelly Yabusele.
Yabusele. Very good. Alrighty. Jimster, at the end of every episode, we plug a little email called parkitonpodcast@gmail.com. And we tell people, give us your rules questions. Give us your pay-to-win indexes. Give us your fun stories. Anything else you want to chuck through there. Maybe not like weird images, but, we could be open to that. Depends what you're selling. Anyway.
If it's a good price.
We have a listener called Anonymous who sent through a little bit of info for us, Jimster. Now, Anonymous writes, "Hi guys, love the pod. Long-time listener, first-time contributor. Some years ago, the opposition had a kitty and a toucher in the ditch. My skip, Bruce, then proceeded to play his bowl, which teetered on the edge of the ditch before settling in the ditch, sitting on the kitty. Some of the bowl on the deck, but still resting on the kitty and not contacting the ditch stand. After much consternation and the odd photo, we called the bowl dead, mainly because it was hot, we were in front by plenty, and we all wanted a cold beer. What is the correct ruling here? Keep up the good work. Regards, Anonymous." Now, for those that are unfamiliar, I studied food science at university, and a lot of food science is basically finding what is not explicitly illegal and then making food that's like that. So I love reading through a rule book, and this is what I've come up with. So in Australia, we play bowls by the Laws of the Sport of Bowls, Crystal Mark 4th edition, which is published April 2023. And there are 2 points that I want to highlight here that address this situation. So 17.2 declares that a bowl is not a dead bowl if, so 17.2.4, it is a toucher which comes to rest on top of the jack or another toucher at rest in the ditch. So a bowl is not a dead bowl if it is a toucher and rests on the top of the jack or another toucher at rest in the ditch. Now, we have to look at the situation. They have the kitty and a toucher already in the ditch when this bowl is delivered, which means 14.3 comes into effect. No bowl will become a toucher if it plays onto or comes into contact with the jack when the jack is already in the ditch. Which means the correct ruling here is to declare the bowl dead, as it cannot be declared a toucher under the circumstances of the gameplay. So, good job, Anonymous's rink with Bruce. You correctly interpreted the rules without even knowing. How good?
Very good. I think that was a really good question.
Yeah, it was a great question. I loved looking it up. I'm fucking stoked.
Yeah, we had a couple of chats about it at Night Owls because you sent through that we had the email during Night Owls, so I had a chat to some of the boys, and yeah, I think they were on the other side of it. They were like, no, it should be, but I think it was just more for the spectacle of it.
Oh, yeah, the spectacle is nice. And obviously, we're talking about if the game were played today. The email does say a few years ago. Without knowing the exact year, I can't go to that specific rule of the sport and go, no, this is how it was then. But if it happened today, dead bowl, terribly sorry. Now, Jimster, Anonymous sent us another piece of information, and that's some information for the pay-to-win index. So, Jimster, when we played that Sunday Pairs Day, we had a couple of CC and dries.
We did.
And we found that the optimal threshold was where again?
6 to 8.
6 to 8 of those beautiful, sweet beverages. Now, Anonymous sent through the Ascot Park costings for a CC and dry, and they will run you at Ascot Park, the Mighty Lions, which, by the way, really cool club, cool people. Like, I feel like I say this a lot, but like, genuinely, bowls clubs are just such full of cool, like, amazing people that when you run into like a wanker one, it sticks in your mind. I wonder who I'm talking about. I fucking love playing at Ascot Park. They're in Div 5 as well, but obviously we've played against them while being not doing the pod. Ascot Park 950. 6 to 8. We've done the 950 calculations before. They're in the mid tier. They're not too high. They're not too low.
Yeah.
Massive thanks to Anonymous for hooking us up there. And then when I was playing at Club Holdfast, of course, I got myself a CC and try to finish the game out. Club Holdfast, $9.
I did eyes emoji that one in the Discord. That is not a bad price.
There's some good dollary dues for a little CC and dry. I like it. Even the 950 Adelaide or Ascot Park is good gear. Really good gear.
Anything under 10 is like unbelievable, I think.
Yeah, imagine charging more than $10 for a CC and dry. I wonder what bowls club would do that. I don't actually know what it is at a certain bowls club that I've talked about enough this episode, but I do know at Westlakes it was bloody 10.8. Was it 10?
10.10, I think.
10.10, yeah. 10.10. It's just like you're adding the extra on. What are you doing? But oh well.
Yeah, Woodville's the cheapest, I think, at the moment. Woodville was $8.50.
Woodville was $8.50. They were a good shout, Woodville. Good on them.
Yeah,
Anyway.
Westlake's currently in top at 10.10.
All right, I'm going to have a big gulp of water, which gives you time to pull up a random number generator, Jimster, because I think it's time for a bit of Shuey's Wisdom.
Ooh, we're late in the book this week. This week we're at 213.
213. Let's have a little peruse, shall we, Jimster? So, as we go, Ian Shuey Shoeback wrote a book called Bowls Biased and Uncensored. And every single page, like how every frame is a painting, every single page has a bit of wisdom. So, 213 you said?
Yep.
Alrighty. On page 213, fucking hell, dude. This is relevant to what we've been talking about today. So, this chapter is called The Ultimate Performance. It's about working out how you can best achieve your Gesamtkunstwerk, shall we say, of lawn bowls. No, I will not explain what that term means. This page is all about profiling your performance. Okay. It's quite common for sports psychologists to perform various tests to provide coaches with a better understanding of an athlete's psyche. Tests not only assist coaches, but more importantly, also help players become familiar with and grasp some key distinctions that provide greater awareness of their unique psychological makeup. There you go. Profile your game, everybody. Identify your flaws. Get better. Get worse. And then get better again. So says the Book of Shuey.
How good.
Jimster, it's been a wonderful episode of Park It On with you. Next week's essentially the season finale.
Yeah.
That's crazy. You know, this weird little half season that we've done, like just after the Christmas break, just sort of working out what the actual format of the show is going to look like has been a lot of fun to put together. And, you know, we're going to do some stuff over the winter time, which we'll talk a bit more about next week when we have some more concrete plans for it. But yeah, until next week, make sure you jump on the emails, parkitonpodcast@gmail.com. Give us your pay to win index, CC and dry prizes, rules questions, fun stories, the Australian Gothic. We had times you got told off at the Bowls Club. That was a good one. But yeah, until next time, it's a goodbye from me.
And it's a goodbye from me. See you guys next week.